So welcome to another episode of In Steve-O's Garage. Today we're not actually in the garage, we're just outside the garage. And we've got this 2001 VW TDI ALH Jetta. And look at this. You might recognize that. That's the famous OAP. Stands for something. Pulley. Came off of this alternator. Look at that. Driving down the road, heard a loud clunk, battery light came on. Pulled over, thought maybe the belt had snapped. Well, the belt is fine. It's in one piece. The pulley departed. And the inside spindle part is still attached to the spindle on the alternator. So I took a look at several videos online and decided that instead of trying to go through the bottom like everybody else is doing, I would do something a little different, and I would try to come right through the top. It looks like there's just enough room right here to get the alternator out, and as a matter of fact there was. I got it out. So what I want to do today is show you exactly how to bring it out the top in case you don't want to get in the bottom. Come through the bottom where it's dirty, you got to lay on the ground, or you're worried about jack stands. Now I will say, if you have a bad back, you're probably better going through the bottom. And I have a bad back, but I wanted to do something different. And so basically it involves just removing the pump, the power steering pump. Let me put that right there. So it just involves removing the power steering pump and the air hose, which everybody else pretty much is removing anyway, and loosening the fan. 3 screws on the fan, dropping it down a little bit, and you can sneak it right past the fan in front of the injection pump. It's a tight squeeze. You just got to move some hoses out of the way a little bit, but you can do it. So let me give you a little closer look on how we did that. Okay, the first thing I did was get this windshield washer reservoir out of the way. Just 2 plastic nuts on the top and the bottom. Now, I did have a little bit of trouble down at the bottom. You can see where the stud is. It actually, the lip of the container went underneath this line right here. So I had to work that up a little bit, pull it up, and pop that off of the stud, basically sitting down there that holds it. So get the pump out of that, just pull it out of the grommet, and then the connector for the sensor telling you that your windshield washer fluid is low. The next thing I did was get this pipe. You can see several videos on how to do that. Now, I had done the timing belt and installed, taken this light out and installed that pipe back so that the clamps that you can see my alligator vice grip there is still holding on to right now. We're up underneath this light. So that's why I did this method. It took me a little while to finally figure that out, because I couldn't get anything on the clamps to loosen them. So I'm just going to leave that for right there until it's time to put this turbo tube, air tube back in. The other end is pretty simple. That one was right on top, so I didn't have any problem getting the clamp off of there. So that gives you plenty of room down in here. As you can see, the power steering pump is already off, and it's got rubber hoses to it, so it's not too hard to move around once you get it off of there. So there's 3 bolts in the face of it. You can see the 3 bolt holes right there that are going to hold it in. Now the problem is the pulley is in the way. So let me show you what's going on. All right, here's the pulley. It's held on with these 3 basically cheese heads that are hex, and this particular one is a 6mm and fits right into screws, and then you can unscrew the 3. Now the key with this is you're going to have to use a holder because it's just a power steering pump, so it's going to spin, and you find some metal on the inside of the pump. I used a 1/4" extension from my ratchet to hold it and break these loose, and then the pulley comes right off and you can get at the bolts. There is a 4th bolt, and it was right here, going through the back side of the power steering pump. So if you know what you're doing, which if you've looked at this, you'll know what's going on. It really shouldn't take too long, as long as you have the 6mm hex and a 13mm socket. Get the 3 bolts out right here and the one back there. It's a little tight at first, but once you work it out, it's plenty loose. All right, let's look at what's okay. From here, the 2 bolts holding in the alternator, you've got a clear shot to them. And here's the bottom one I stuck back in, so that's as far as it goes down. And then the other one will be right in this hole here. So 13mm, real easy access with all of this out of the way. The difficult part is going to be getting the alternator actually out. It's pretty tight in there, but if you just use some patience and a screwdriver, a long screwdriver, and you just carefully pry different directions to get it to pull off of where it's pinched onto the bracket. So it sits in basically like this, and so the bolts go through right here, and you can see you know, that part is pinching against the bracket that it's bolted into. It's really tight down on as far as room goes, down on top of this this bracket here that's just holding an idler pulley. Can't really get a picture of that, but right on top of the air conditioner compressor. So the other method coming out of the bottom, you would take that air conditioning compressor off so that you could get the alternator out. Well, I wanted to come through the top, and basically once I got it loose from these, it was a matter of just rotating it around, and it's not that easy because this thing has some serious weight to it. So that these bracket areas sticking out were in the widest area. You can see, pretty simple, I dropped the fan down. It's just 3 screws on this fan. Each one is inside this little bracket coming across, so they're easy to find, pretty easy to get to. Mine were the Torx, T30 Torx. And you don't have to take it out, you just got to move it down, and then you can get the alternator out. So a different method, if you want to come through the top, I thought I would show you that. I think I've covered everything, but what I'll do is I'll just give you some video of me struggling to get the new one back through this opening, and hopefully that will help. Okay, so I've opted for a new or remanufactured alternator. You can see this one says Bosch on it, collected by someone else, and the work was done by them. You can see this is the OAP pulley. It's a clutched pulley, so that if you rev the engine high and then suddenly spin down, the clutch, this alternator, having a lot of momentum, will not have to spin down. The clutch will just ratchet, and it, I guess one thing is it saves pressure on the belt and on the tensioner, since there's a lot of momentum inside of this alternator, the armature and such. So you can make sure that that works simply by putting your finger on the fan blade, and you see that it turns freely one way, but it won't turn the other way. It'll cut your finger off if you hold it in there. So I'm going to just show you The struggles, the main struggle is this the coolant hose coming out of the center of the engine. I suppose you could take that out pretty easily and save yourself some trouble. Let's see if we can get it in. It's gonna go like this. Yep, it's gonna go down like this with these two toward the firewall, and obviously the pulley coming out here on my left side where the other pulleys are, and then you'll connect up your wire in the back. Here there's one plug, one wire on a, what was a 13 millimeter bolt. Most everything's 13, so VW did us right there. So let's see what you can see and what will happen. You've got the air conditioner hose here. You work it past that ejection pump. You want to be careful of that, and then try to get it below. And that's what it's doing, is hitting this pipe down here. It is a struggle. There. So you can see that it will just fall in because it weighs about 20 pounds. I got the fan down there, and you got the power steering pump in the way. It's hard to grab a hold of, but like I said, this coolant pipe is mainly what is going to get in your way. We're almost there. I'm sure you, like me, enjoy watching struggles on these videos. Now it's this pipe right here that's a bit of a problem. Lift that up. There we go. And if I can see where my brackets are, I might be able to line them up. There we go. All right, so let me take you over to this side a little bit. So you can see here that it's almost in position. The struggle is going to be getting this flange on the alternator over the flanges on the bracket. It was tight. Obviously, we had to pry it out of there. So I can imagine it's probably going to be tight getting it back in there, and it's going to require some jimmying. So let me show you that from back over here on the tripod. Okay, for more struggle getting those holes lined up. And I think I showed you wrong earlier on the holes on the where the bolts come out. Right here, it is a little bit lower than I was showing. I showed you the top one. It feels like the top one's going on, so maybe they spread these flanges out so that then they can be tightened up onto the, well, maybe not. The bottom one won't move forward. I'm not sure what these hold on to it. You can look down and see where the bottom one is supposed to go. And that's what I'm having trouble with. That thing being there. That's the top one. Where is the bottom? Oh, it's right on it right now. Oh, it's just sliding right in there. Is this my lucky day? Bolts are almost too long to fit in. Yeah, trying to get the bolt through the hole. the other fun part. Screwing in. So that one looks in. It's garbage day. Let's get the other bolt. I know something's gonna go wrong because that was too easy. So let's find the bottom support bracket. I've been calling it 20 different things, flanges and brackets, but it's just the holes on the alternator where the bolt goes through. That one's going in, and it's meeting something on the other side that it's screwing into. So you just saw how long it took me. It took, I would say, longer to get it out because I didn't know what I was doing. I was making it up. But that's why I'm making this for you, so that you will have a reference, just like I've done many times on YouTube, so to make the job faster. I know what I'm getting into. All right, let me get the 13 millimeter and just make sure. And just so you'll know, this baby right here, the Milwaukee ratchet, electric ratchet, was huge, especially getting the screws out of the fan. Boy, you don't want to be trying to ratchet down in there, but just get it on there, buzz it off, make sure your hand is there to catch the screw. The other thing I did was that the belly pan, I undid a couple of screws because I dropped, of course, a socket down in there and probably a bolt, and I just dropped my ratchet down in there. I don't think you can see anything that I'm doing right here, but I'm simply trying to get my socket 13 millimeter on that bottom bracket bolt and hold it. There goes my socket, the ratchet again. This would be a great place for the electric. So of course what I have is a 1/2 inch here. Let me show you a setup. Let's do that. This gets a little long when you. But this is 3/8, and this is 1/2. So just get an adapter. There's the adapter, and now my 13 millimeters on there. Of course, I could get a 3/8 13 millimeter, which is what I'm going to have to do. Make sure you're going the right direction. It's too dark to see down in here anyway. I kind of wish sometimes they'd put the switch on the end of this thing. Is that 13 millimeter or is it bigger? No, it's 13, it just won't go in there. It's against the firewall. There we go. So that makes the job a whole lot easier. And take your adapter off of there. And then get this one on there. And then we can torque it to factory specs. Whatever factory specs might be, G&T. Yeah, those flanges were opened up because now it's pulling it. It's tight. So I think you get the idea. Not tightening. Interesting. Alright, we're going to have to figure this out. See what I screwed up. Stand by. It's too boring. So I just wanted to show you what's going on real quick inside there when I was putting the bolt in. So here's your two brackets on the alternator, and then the vehicle brackets obviously sits right in here. And the bolt goes in from the pulley side and goes through the bracket attached to the car and into this side, and this side is threaded. So as you start turning, obviously it's going to put pressure and squeeze these two in. So the remanufacture was nice. They spread these apart a little bit, so it was really easy to slip over the bracket on the car. And then, but the key is it takes a little bit of tightening to get these to pull in and be tight. So it feels like there's some resistance, but you got to keep going because you're actually going to squeeze these in, and then it'll all get tight. So you do want to go to manufacturer's factory specs on this torque, and then obviously you can feel that it is rock solid once you get the bolt tight. This is not actually the bolt, it's just an example. All right. Okay, this one obviously is a little out of sequence, but took a break. Didn't want you to forget about when you're getting this power steering pump off or on, there is a holding, so you put the bolt in, and that'll hold your power steering hard line in place. And so you want to make sure and take that out when you're moving the power steering pump. Otherwise, it's pretty simple to get back. You can see the 3 bolts here. I'll put those back in, and then there's one right here, kind of where it might pivot. Okay, this is driving me nuts. Right here where it might pivot, one goes in right there, and it just slides in just like the alternator does. Pinches between this bracket and over here on this bracket. So it's pretty straightforward. And then 3 cheese heads back in to get the pulley back onto the power steering pump. So I've got it in, and it's just a matter of getting all the jibbly bits back in there, and this wiring harness and such back where it was, and the windshield washer container back in, and the fan, the 3 screws put back in the fan and pull back up in place. So if you want to bring it through the top, you know, this is it can be done. There's plenty of room to live right in there. Squishing past this hose, coming up is a little bit more difficult. Getting it out, you saw when I put it in, the weight helped just pull it past everything and drop it in. But there is room. So there you go.